Hey everyone, thanks as always for tuning in. In today's video, I get to share with you guys a relatively under the radar maker, and he is out of South Africa. And we're going to take a look at some knives from Jason Guthrie. So South Africa has quite a few kind of gems as far as custom knives go. There's Jason Guthrie, of course. There's Clive Challenor. There's Johan Ellis. Some of you guys are probably familiar with Andre Thorburn and Andre van Heerden, as well as a few other makers that I'm forgetting or omitting. But we're going to take a look at a model called the Ranger from Jason Guthrie. So, yeah. All right, so we'll start with the kind of specs, overall impressions, and we will go from there. Real quick, let me wipe this off. All right, so specs. Of course, these are titanium frame locks. They do encompass a few interesting features that we'll go over in detail, and they run on Teflon or Nylotron washers here. Pretty large at 4 inches. So let's get into the specs. So blade length on these is just about 3.93 inches. Handle length is 5.11 inches, giving us an overall of about 8.66 inches between the two. Handle thickness is 0.6 inches. Fairly thick at the widest portion, but they are contoured, so really good feel in the hand. And they weigh in fairly light for their size. So this carbon fiber version here is about 4 ounces, and this really cool bright orange G10 version is 4.4 ounces. So, for a just about a 4-inch blade here, really full size, pretty good on the weight, especially considering they are frame locks. So, yeah. So those are the specs for the most part. Overall impressions. These are actually on loan from 2 private collectors. So this one's on loan from Richard, also known as X Machiavelli, and this one's on loan from Nate, which is like Mr. Frogs, 1980. I do apologize. Just look down below. I'll have both of their links, but Nate is probably the most prolific Jason Guthrie collector in the United States. He has quite a few. So anyways, these ones are on loan. I've had them for probably about 2 weeks, and as far as overall impressions go, the knives have a tremendous amount of personality, great ergonomics, really functional, really practical knives, and I feel like they're different. Obviously, they're frame locks, which are extremely popular, but he's got a few really cool, touches or differences that set his knives apart in how they carry and how they feel. So really impressed with the quality. I had the chance to talk to Jason at length. Seems like a really solid guy. Was more than happy to chat about his knives. It is just him making the knives, and his wife runs the books for the most part, so just kind of a small operation there. But anyways, handmade. The frames are water jet to save on time, possibly the blades too, but everything else is done by hand. So yeah, really cool knives. So let's get into the specifics on these different ones. I should also state, while we're kind of going over the generals here, his books are currently closed. He hopes to open them up in September or October of 2016, so in the coming months. So if you are interested, that would be a good time to jump on, but check him out on Instagram for those details. So entry-level prices start at about $650, either for the Wharncliffe style or the classic blade shape. And prices can go up from there, maybe another $50 or so for carbon fiber. All prices, of course, subject to change. And then he has elite models, which include, I believe it is, Damascus pocket clips, Damasteel blades, just a little more ornate. So those are the elite models. Obviously, they go for a little bit more money. But anyways, you can check him for details on prices. But yeah, so that should cover it for the most part. So let's get into the specifics then. So here we have this really cool Wharncliffe blade. You've got these really interesting diagonal grind lines, satin finish here, kind of a coarse satin. But really beautiful blade shape, nice swedge up top. And Let's move that for a moment. Nice swedge up top and plenty of belly. Does come in at a flat grind, just about a full flat grind, all the way down to a really keen edge. Really nice. So, you know, as a user, they function quite well. Now, I didn't go out and thump on these out of respect to the owners, of course, as they're not my knives. But, yeah. So, there's a look at the blade finish and so forth. The thumb stud. Lots of nice texturing on top. It's hard to miss it. I haven't slipped on the thumb stud at all, so those are well machined, plenty of grip but not sharp. Nicely done. And he does make lefty models as well. Aaron Shapiro just did a video on 2 of his knives, the smaller version of this and then a Barlow, and they're both left-handed versions, so if you're a lefty, good news for you. So, yeah. So that's pretty much it for the blade here. M390 blade steel. Really interesting. I was talking to him about what it means, or what are some of the ramifications of being a maker in South Africa. M390 is quite hard to get for them there. He actually has to buy a year's worth of M390 at once if he hopes to get enough. It's really hard to get smaller quantities of the blade steel, so pretty big investment, but he is adamant about using, you know, the best steel that he can for a knife that's really meant to be carried and used and will hold up under use quite well. Jason's background is in gunsmithing. He was a firearms instructor for quite some time. I believe a 3rd generation family business there. So, you know, worked on guns, gunsmithing, worked on cars, out in the bush, and you know, his bush is a proper bush, big freaking pythons and all sorts of other things out there in the wild. So you know, he's adamant about a knife that he can use and carry and be functional in those types of environments. If you guys can picture the bush of South Africa. Probably another reason that he uses, probably won't see it here, but either Teflon or Nylotron washers in here. Quite smooth, but for you guys that, you know, take your knives out and use them in the wild, bearings can sometimes get stuff in them. Washers are a little more dirt and grime proof, as it were. So, yeah. I forgot to ask him the details as to the Nylotron or Teflon washers, but that is my assumption. So, really cool pivot here, and it can be adjusted with an Allen wrench from this side. So you just put some pressure here, tighten it here. Not too big of a deal. All right, let's take a look at the handles then. So of course this one is carbon fiber. Really nice, really comfortable cutout here that functions well to access the thumb stud. And then when you have the knife open, that's a really nice positive spot for your index finger there to get a really comfortable grip. Feel like you have complete control over the knife, no slippage. And then that, you know, 0.6 inches of handle thickness fills the hand really well. And you can see the contouring and the sculpting on the scales here, done by hand also. So, quite well done. Let's take a look at the orange one real quick. And man, orange, it is obnoxious and really fun as a handle color. So I know Terra Fanatic is quite fond of orange, if you guys watch the Wieners and Steel. So again, same really nice sculpting, same hand-filling grip here. Again, a nice color if you're out in the bush and you drop this thing in the dark. But yeah. So that's a look at the handles and the proprietary pivot. This portion here is actually just the tang of the blade to make contact with the stop pin, but it does work if you want to roll this thing open a little bit first too. Just a happy coincidence. And this knife is actually a bit more broken in, and I don't want to cut myself, but yeah. Really, really smooth. Obviously when it's this smooth, it's got a little more wiggle in it. It's not loose, there's no play, but it flexes a bit more since this one is either broken in or the owner you know, loosened it up a little bit for the insane smoothness. So yeah, this one's been absolutely fun to carry and have in the pocket. Just a tremendous amount of personality. I mean, you know, what other knife has that profile or looks like the Ranger? I can't think of any, to be honest. It's different but completely functional. There is jimping on the top of the blade spine here for a nice positive spot for your thumb to go, as well as kind of a ramp for your thumb to get onto. So again, really comfortable, really ergonomic in the hands there. So yeah, forgot to wear a watch. As you can see, I've got terrible watch tan. Anyways, some other nice details. You've got a floating back spacer here of titanium. Mentioned the sculpting here on this titanium frame lock. And one other thing that I'm not sure a lot of people know about, I didn't actually know about, but he uses an insert, and it's going to be really hard to see here. Man, I don't want to hyperextend it, but in here, in the lock bar, there is a small tungsten rod that is inserted, you know, vertically down into the frame lock. And so it's you know, just imagine a rod with the top of it being slightly domed and polished, and what that does is it creates a contact point for the blade steel that is not the softer titanium. So it's you know, tungsten. He calls it the GTI, which is the Guthrie tungsten insert, and makes contact with the tang of the blade there. So really cool feature. It's kind of a different take on the on some of the Chris Reeve knives that use a huge detent ball to contact the blade. So similar in principle, but different in execution. I think it's really cool. It's you know, it's not something that you can see like a stainless steel lock insert, and of course you guys know I love lock inserts. This one functions just as well. No stick, no wiggle, quite solid, but a really cool application. You know, it shows his kind of his ingenuity or his willingness to think outside the box, I guess. And again, you guys can argue that, hey, it's just a different take on something that Chris Reeve does, but it is different. So that's where I think the value comes into play. Now, the pocket clip uses these I guess standoffs here to you know, to give the enough space here. Functions beautifully, and if you guys can see, these standoffs are actually nestled down into the frame here, so that there's not wiggle. Sometimes when people put standoffs directly on top of the titanium and there's not a pocket, as you see with these ones, if the screws aren't super tight, it introduces a bunch of wiggle, but he has remedied that by creating pockets that the standoffs sit in. So yeah, pocket clip works beautifully, plenty of space for my thick jeans. Again, really easy to carry, get in and out of the pocket, still quite deep, as you can see, and just super functional. Again, his knives have a tremendous amount of functionality, along with the interesting design aesthetic and everything else. So yeah. All right, now I talked to him about some of the, I guess, some of the struggles or some of the interesting things that that occur as being a maker outside the United States. And he said one of the obstacles that offers both pros and cons is shipping. As you guys know, shipping from South Africa to or from is quite expensive. And so he said the challenge for him is to really, when he sends out a knife, it can't be half-assed. It has to be absolutely perfect, because shipping it back is tremendously expensive. So, you know, you guys have probably heard of some makers who get a knife out just to get a knife out, and then if the customer's unhappy, they can just ship it back. That is a terrible thing to do, and that's something that Jason is very adamant does not happen. Every knife that leaves his shop has to be perfect because of the expense and burden it places on him to have to ship it back for repair. So, yeah, wonderfully executed knives, interesting design. Again, there are quite a few kind of gems as far as South Africa goes. New makers to follow, to keep your eye on, maybe jump on their books when they open. Again, that should be around October, September, probably the early part of Q4 of 2016 here. And Jason does attend a Blade Show as well as the Gathering in Vegas. So if you guys hit up either of those shows, great opportunity to go handle his knives and check him out. Really cool guy, really fun accent, quite enjoyable to talk to. So Yeah, hopefully that gave you guys a good look at his knives here from Jason Guthrie. Again, you can also check out Aaron Shapiro's video for another take on two of his other models, the smaller version of this, and then the Barlow. So, anyways, guys, comments or questions, let me know. I will put all of the relevant links in the description box below, so be sure to check those out. Thanks as always for watching. I need to get these back to their owners ASAP, and appreciate you guys clicking that like button and subscribing. Podcast is up and running, which is Modern Neanderthal Podcast. So, all right, guys, thanks so much. Take care.